I know you are a man who truly, gets the lymphatic system, the importance of it. In our last conversation, I feel like we were just touching on it, and
Yeah.
maybe we could start where we left off because you made a very good case for the lymphatic system being one of the most powerful and often most overlooked systems for healing. Can you go back and just maybe recap what brought you to that realization that the lymphatic system is so, so crucial in healing?
Well, I'd be happy to. Thank you very much for being able to share that message. Honestly, it was what saved my life.
Mm,
It's not a sugarcoat for sure. I mean, I was really lost in what I call the quicksand or the abyss of illness, where no matter what I was trying to do to help myself, I just was sinking fast, kind of like quicksand, honestly.
yeah.
Like the more you try, the harder you try, the more things you do, the faster you sink. So it's a perfect analogy. And I realized first thing you do in quicksand is they say, breathe, which is a
Hmm.
good thing to do, relax, calm yourself, look at your surroundings, and begin to think differently.
Hmm.
So that's what you have to do. And it's a perfect analogy for the body in healing. You have to calm yourself and relax, and typically have to have a different thinking process to change how you're feeling, because that's what it's telling you. Like whatever you're doing is not working well. I need you to shift something. And the first thing you do is how you think. So I stopped and I began to think differently. And the branch I grabbed to prevent myself from going under was the lymphatic system. And when I began to implement the working on the lymphatics and then changing it up a little bit based on everything that I've learned over my 30 years prior of knowing about the body and the different systems, I began to pull myself out. And within, honestly, a matter of days, I felt a significant shift and how much better I felt. And my energy came back. And then my outlook for the possibility of healing came back. And then I think it's going on like 10 years later now. And I'm trying to be that branch for other people. And that's why I love shows like this, because it's the simple fact of the awareness of that system that can change your life, because you don't know what you don't know. And you can't control something until you have some awareness about what you can control. And does that make sense? So when you know about the lymphatics and you begin to work on it, you're going to say the same thing. Wow, this stuff is crazy. It really works. And I feel different and I feel better. That's going to happen.
Yeah. And it's wild, Perry, because so few have that awareness of even what the lymphatic system is. And I'm talking about
Right.
even doctors out there. I was at an
Right.
event, I was telling you about this before we got on, I lost my voice at, but we were presenting, we had my father's European biological doctor. He started off in Europe coming from Poland, and we had Dr. Rao there from Switzerland. And they were focused on this. Hey, you got to detox and drain and drainage too. It's not just detox, it's drainage, it's
Yeah.
lymphatics, it's moving, getting that out, restoring inner milieu, right? The
Yeah.
terrain. And
Hmm.
even a few doctors there that were more conventional trained, came after me afterwards and were like, we did not know that. Like, this is brand new to me. This is
Mm-hmm.
lymphatic system is something we don't talk about really. We don't bring up. I mean, toxicity in general isn't something you bring up that much in conventional medicine. Why is it
Mm.
that so much of medicine, healthcare, and what we think health and wellness is overlooking this system? Because we do focus sometimes on liver, right? We drink too much.
Yeah.
We say, oh, take the milk thistle, detox the liver. It's like, well, that's just one organ. It's important, but we
Mhm.
never look at the lymphatic.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's pretty much my mission in life and why I'm doing what I do. But honestly, I really can't blame them, because that was me
Yeah.
at one point. I mean, it's 10 years I've been doing it. So let's say 20 years of being in healthcare. It never crossed my radar. I learned about it just briefly in chiropractic school. And the same thing for whatever professional degree you went through. You probably covered a small 20-minute, 30-minute session. Be lucky if you get an hour in it. of what the lymphatic system is. And even when they teach it to you, they don't put a lot of importance on it,
Right.
which you say, well, I mean, it's probably not important then because I'm not spending a lot of hours on it, right? That just makes sense. But even when they talk about it, they put it in this small box of relevance. So what do I mean by that is that you'll look at the lymphatic system when you have a diagnosed condition, most often called, lymphedema.
Hmm.
And it's a condition where the lymphatic system valves can become not function as optimal or injured. And then edema on the part of that lymph part is stuff gets very puffy and gets swollen, sometimes grotesquely so, because the fluid can't drain. And then they say, well, you have, lymphedema, but then they usually will only look at the body part that's swollen as the part of the lymph system that's dysfunctional. And they often disregard the other 99.999% of the body that also has to use lymphatics, or it'll come across your radar when we hear the big C word, cancer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because many people have had, lymph nodes removed or they have cancer throughout the lymphatic system. And the reason it is because the lymph system is a huge part of your immune system, and its job is to try to kill cancer cells all day long so you don't get it,
Hmm.
right? Tries to kill them. So then if people don't have those conditions, well, then they say, well, I don't need to look at lymph. And that's what I did. And it was only after I realized that, wow, you touched on it before. It's the system of keeping your body clean, what could you call the milieu, which is a fluid filled environment around the cells. And it's a major player in your immune system and a major player in your vascular system, which is your blood flow system, and controlling inflammation in the body. Those are probably the three most important things you could check off. That's if you don't have those, then you just can't heal. So now I automatically default to you have some type of lymphatic system issue. You just don't know it yet.
Yep.
And it just depends on to what extent that it's there. And they're starting to catch on now because of people are beginning to feel better when they do lymphatics. So that puts you on the radar and they're like, okay, what's going on over here? Everybody's telling me how much better they're feeling. Let's take another look. And so they're doing some research and saying, I think these people might be onto something. And I know they are because it's just based on how physiology works. Once you understand that, you kind of kick yourself up. I should have been here the whole time looking at this system. And another reason it's really coming on the radar is I'm seeing a big connection between a poorly functioning lymphatic system and brain health.
Mm.
And because of the exponential increase in brain related issues called neuroinflammation from Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and all these things, they're just got to say, what's going on here, man? We must be missing something. And that's a big piece of it. That's a big piece of it. So they're coming around. And when they see shows like yours and then the general population that is beginning to say, you know what, I'm going to have to learn to take care of myself because medicine just is not doing it for me anymore. They tried, if you're lucky, and it's not working. Then that's when you start to look in all these different places that you never even thought to look out of one thing, necessity.
Right.
You had to save yourself, or very often it's the people that are trying to save a loved one in their life and they'll find it. That happens a lot.
Yeah. And it seems like there's this perfect storm brewing because, one of the things you mentioned that we have more toxins entering the body than ever before. We're
Yes.
having a hard time getting it out of the body. But then you're going to also talk about such a sedentary life, we're not moving as much. We're
Mhm.
we're we're not active, we're not outdoors, we're not breathing as well. So that starts to build stagnation. And so those toxins have nowhere to go, but the connective tissue in your milieu create cellular havoc, you know, and regeneration, all these things, and then chronic disease comes about.